All right, Big Bang. Today is Tuesday. It's December 12th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. As always, here with Chief. Chief, how we doing?
Doing just fine.
Good.
Recovered. Feeling good.
Good. Lance, how you feeling?
Feeling great.
Lance running the ones and twos today. You a big conspiracy guy, Lance?
I'll dabble in conspiracies for sure.
Yeah, once in a while.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always interested.
I feel like Lance is a guy who gets his mind blown and enjoys it. Like he might go have a little 3-chi and sit back and.
That's facts. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
I can see that for sure. For sure.
Yep.
So we're doing a little bit of that today, right? Or no? It's not conspiracy. It's actually.
I don't even know. It's not conspiracy.
It's reality.
It's reality.
Virtual reality.
Yeah, we're doing AI. This is one that I feel like you've been interested in a while. I'm interested in it, but there's so much of it that is like beyond like the technical side of things. I don't fucking know. The implications of it we can talk about, we will talk about, and like there's been a lot of drama in the space with all like the Sam Altman, OpenAI, all that kind of stuff. We'll get into that. But it is like the thing that is daunting about it is you have a lot of very, very smart people being like, we need to just hold up on this. Like, let's not dive headfirst into AI without like agreements.
Yeah, I remember we talked like Elon like kind of was in that position.
He's kind of walked it back a little bit.
Oh, he's coming back in on it?
He launched his own. So he's pretty in on it.
He's got vested interest.
He launches his own, it's called like Grok.
Yeah.
It's like a ChatGPT type of.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been interested in the guy who he was apparently like the founder. I don't know. I'm sure we're gonna get into it. And then like there was like a big uproar on Twitter a couple weeks ago about people like, oh my god.
We can break down. We can start with that if you want.
All right, let's get into all of it. Before we do that, I want to talk about Roback. You guys all know Roback. We love Roback, and trust me when I say I'm all set for the fam this year for holiday season because of the guys over at Roback. Their gear is simply the best fit, best feel, just all around the best. They got the performance hoodies. You guys know all about those. Everyone at Barstool is wearing those. The performance crew necks. And these new fleece pullovers that Chief wore. So
they're unbelievable.
Yeah,
they're unbelievable. And like I had, my brother was over. He attempted to steal it. I've had other people attempt to steal it. It's like, no. Every other item you in the closet you want to borrow, have at it. Leave the Roback there. I need to make sure that's in my possession at all times. I love that pullover.
Got to do it.
Yeah.
Got to do it. So you just know. You see that dog, you see those two stripes in the back, you just know it's a Roback guy. It's great.
That's me. I'm a Roback guy now.
Roback guy.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Use the code DOG on Roback.com for 20% off all new customers through the end of this week. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all hoodies, joggers, and polos with code DOG. It's now holiday season, so don't be late this year and be sure to check them out at Roback.com.
You should be doing that today. So we're bumping up on, it's what's the 13th? This is the shipping crisis time for Christmas gifts. So make sure you're going to Roback.com today and use that promo code because 20% off.
Yep.
Like,
and they cut it on Friday, so you got to act quick. Don't be left with your putt in your hand.
Don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
Don't be an idiot.
That simple.
Yeah.
All right. What's going on with this guy?
All right. So this was like a fascinating. I don't think we've seen the end of this. Okay. So all the drama around Sam Altman. So Sam Altman is the founder of OpenAI. I tried to watch a podcast of him. It's within the last year. It was him and Lex Friedman. And I like Lex Friedman. And I don't have any beef with Sam Altman. But that was one robot talking to the other one. Like that's kind of how that, like just their voices sounded. Like they say things so casually where it's like, I don't even know what word that is. Like they're like, you can just tell like he's just one of these people who's God reached down into his brain and made him like a super genius and a visionary. And that's what a lot of people around him have called him. Like he's like an Elon Musk, a Bill Gates, who is the original guy at TikTok or at Twitter? Jack Dorsey. Like he's like one of these kind of like just thinker guys, and he can just figure it out. And he created this OpenAI, this artificial intelligence company, and originally had it set up as a not-for-profit, and technically it still is, I guess, because now they're under pressure from the Federal Trade Commission to see if they're violating antitrust laws because they're in bed pretty heavy with Microsoft. So and all this kind of more so came to light. Like there's been public, giving them billions of dollars from Microsoft. But Microsoft really went into the boardroom during the drama and swung their dick around. So what happened was on November 17th, there was like this mutiny led by, it was almost like a Brutus situation, like Julius Caesar stabbed a guy who had been in the team for a long time, stabbed in the back, kind of a power play, moved Sam Altman out. And on the 18th, the next day, investors were like, hold on, wait a second. Like, we're not getting rid of Sam Altman. They tried to reinstate him. They failed. They couldn't get the votes they needed. So it's still, this guy's out. They name a new CEO on November 19th. 20th was when you had 700 workers, which was almost the entire workforce of OpenAI, signed a letter being like, if he's out, we're out. And it was like taken so seriously that Salesforce, Amazon, all these other companies were like, well, we're going to be a shit ton of talent hitting the market. Like, they were like putting out job offers. Like, people were like, are you guys actually leaving? And they're like, yeah, we're leaving. So Microsoft on that same day was like, you know what? We're hiring Sam Altman. Okay. So they're going to, and basically being like, we've invested so much in OpenAI. You're not going to do this little song and dance with the board and cut us out of the decision making. So we're going to hire him and put him above you, but he works for us, but he's in charge of OpenAI. And so then the next day or 2 days later on the 22nd, OpenAI came out and was like, we're announcing a new board. Everybody who kind of voted out Altman is gone. Microsoft now has more board power, and we're also reinstating Sam Altman as CEO. So all of that happened in a span of 5 days. And so now Sam Altman is back in charge, and he is running OpenAI day to day. The thing that I found interesting is just this week on Monday, you had two different reports. You had the Federal Trade Commission is looking into them as a possible antitrust. Like, these guys have a monopoly. What's going on? And because they're, with their agreement with Microsoft, and Microsoft had to release a statement being like, we don't actually own any part of AI. Like, we are entitled to some profit sharing, but we don't actually own any part of it. So I was like, that's weird. Well, then how did you just reinstate your guy like that? And like, really, and you're on the board now. Like, so the government's looking in to see if there's any antitrust violations. That's number one. You also had two different articles come out in major publications. One was the New York Post. There was New York Post, and it might have been three actually, but calling into question Sam Altman's character. Say had senior OpenAI employees were saying the reason that he was going to be pushed out was because that they called him psychologically abusive to team members, and that he was pitting employees against each other in unhealthy ways. Like, I don't even know what that would mean. Making them compete? What are we doing? Like fucking Jello, wrestling? Like it's old school or something?
Wolf of Wall Street?
Wolf of Wall. Yeah. Like what's an unhealthy way for a bunch of these people in Silicon Valley? I don't know. And it would be interesting to see if they saw. Hold on, I got tagged in an alien thing, and it got me off pace here. But so it would be interesting to see, like, well, is he this terrible, tyrannical dictator CEO psychopath with 700 people that work for him sign a letter being like, if he's gone, I'm gone, if he was so bad? But I feel like there's some kind of power play still going on here, is if he survives the removal, and comes back, like fucking Maximus, like, hey, or Wolf of Wall Street, like, I'm not fucking leaving, like, I'm back in charge. And then it's like, well, we better try a different tact. Let's try a government investigation, and let's try this kind of like hit piece. Like, I've seen that playbook before. I've seen that, like, we've seen that here. We've seen, like, we don't like Dave Portnoy, guy won't shut the fuck up. Well, let's have Business Insider assassinate his character, and let's make sure the regulators give Penn hell. I feel like that's kind of the playbook for enemies of the state. And I don't know what Sam Altman or OpenAI or Microsoft or who's pulling what strings, but it just the playbook that's like the conspiracy part of this. The playbook that's seemingly being used right now was, oh, this guy's a monster. Well, is he? Because he had 700 people say like he's the greatest guy ever, and he's a visionary, and we're not working for anybody but him. And then you have a government intervention. So the Justice Department. That is the playbook. That is the fucking playbook these days. You politicize the Justice Department, and then you use the media to skewer him. So if he ends up losing or there's an injustice done against him, no one cares. He's an asshole anyways. So I thought that was a little peculiar. What he's actually working on scares the fucking bejesus out of me. So, which this OpenAI thing, because, and I feel like, I don't know, like, what do you know about it? Like, what kind of piques your interest about it? Because for me, it's like, this is a whole new thing. Like, this is like the scariest thing ever to come along.
What do I know about OpenAI?
Or AI in general.
I mean, I just know like the ChatGPT stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
We've talked about that. Which is crazy in and of itself. Like the fact that I could pass a bar exam and like just do all this random shit that humans...
And we're in early levels of this thing.
Yeah.
But it's not too late to stop it. Mm-hmm. Because if you get to a place where a ChatGPT or an AI can pass the bar and theoretically act as a lawyer, who's hiring lawyers anymore? What do you even fucking need them for? Okay. So you just put a shit ton of people out of work. And historically, when there's been major innovations like this, you know, think about the Industrial Revolution, you think about combustion engines, all these different types of things, or the internet or whatever, puts a lot of people out of work, and people have to pivot into different things. And they're, you know, like, we don't use coal really anymore. You're moving in, you better learn how to code. Remember that was like a thing. Okay. Well, because it was always like the blue collar worker who had been put out of work. Okay. And when people first started talking about AI, about who it's going to come for, the most prevalent one I would always hear was truckers. Because we're going to have, you know, we got Google Maps and all these ways and all these things everywhere. And we're going to have, Elon's working on self-driving cars. And eventually we're going to have AI that knows knows how to drive, can drive, most efficient way to do it. And it's a fucking robot using the highway system. And that's going to put all these truckers eventually out of work, which is a giant. It's like one of the number one employers in the world. And then take it a step further, that will probably talk about White Sox Dave and his logistics. Well, if everything's automated, this truck goes from A to B to C, there's no guesswork at all. You just have a computer sit there and figure it all out. All those people are out of work. Then you have, you know, we're talking about programmers, okay, where the programmer's the one designing ChatGPT now. But eventually, if they make it good enough, and it takes that next leap, it'll start to learn things that you didn't tell it to learn. Okay, so right now the ChatGPT is, like, called a large language something. Okay, and it basically it turns all of, you know, every word in the English language and really any language into a set of zeros and ones, and it can, if you have a broad enough topic, it will be able to do what you tell it to do. When it gets into trouble, where if you have a very hyper specific question in an area where not a lot of people, like if you're talking about like some super specific type of archaeology or paleontology or something like that, there wouldn't be enough input and data in the system for ChatGPT to give you like the coherent answer you're looking for. But because there are so many lawyers, okay, and so many legal cases that you could just plug in here, it can replace those people. So and eventually it'll just learn, and then it learns to do stuff that you didn't tell it to learn. Where it's like, hey, like, we're trying to learn how, you know, I need to know how this Chinese company, whatever, makes this particular part. Well, ChatGPT could, in theory, teach itself to learn Mandarin and the Chinese language because it needs to in order to answer the question that you asked it. So it can do that. So if it starts taking initiative to learn things, and that is kind of in a way being sentient, that can then, it can it can create a situation where it's like, we don't need the programmers anymore. This thing's programming itself. Okay. It just keeps improving itself. So then you get to a point where there's no jobs really for anyone, because this thing has become so massive, and it's taken, like, you ever take an economics class in college?
High school.
High school. Okay. So they always, you have capitalism, you have communism, and you've had these different systems of economics and different theories of economics. And you've always had, kind of like two camps. Like, you have your labor and you have your capital. This is something else. Like, is ChatGPT, is AI, is that labor? Like, is it? And then it's just going to be theoretically removing labor from the workforce. So then you have all these people, and even if you came up with like a UBI, universal basic income, because it's like, we don't have, like, nothing for these people to do. People are fucking pointless, basically. What happens then? And this is the part where I think it gets very scary, is because you always had, there's this old quote, I'm gonna butcher it, but it's from Dostoevsky, but it was basically like, if people had nothing to do but sleep, procreate, and eat cake, well, humans aren't really designed that way. So somebody, even though that's like the easiest, best life ever, all your needs are taken care of, people would throw a wrench in it or a jackhammer to it just to fuck it up for the novelty, just for something new, because this is boring. It's like, you ever seen the movie Pleasantville?
I'm familiar with it.
It starts out black and white, like 1950s, everything idyllic, but it's black and white. So like, they kind of destroy that whole world. Reese Witherspoon comes in, sluts everything up, and people start seeing in color for the first time. And it like destroys like their old like perfect world, but it in theory makes a better world. But this, if you don't have anything to do, what do people do? And I've heard people say things like, oh, well, this will allow people to be creative and come up with, they could learn how to play guitar, learn how to, do art or whatever. It's like, there's not that many creative people in the world, so it's like, there needs to be a guy who just wants to, stamp, car parts and stuff like that, and work in it and have these different jobs and can have a life and have a purpose. Because what you're going to do is you're going to end up with a whole bunch of people with no purpose. And I think that's a really fucking scary and bad thing, because then what happens? You got a bunch of people with nothing but time on their hands run around fucking things up because they have no purpose.
And people with these kind of jobs, they don't necessarily jump to go back or do, kind of the blue collar stuff.
Yeah. And there just won't be enough of that. There's, like, it's not like you're a programmer. It's like, well, a chat GPT thing or an AI thing can't be a plumber, so I guess I'll go be a plumber. Like, how many you can't have a nation of plumbers or bricklayers or something, or like, there aren't that many blue collar jobs. We're a service industry, or we're a service economy now. Like, we've gotten rid of all of our manufacturing for the most part, and so there's not, which is a whole other discussion, a whole other topic, which I think is a bad thing, that we don't have manufacturing jobs in general. But there's going to be a whole class of people that just, and I'm talking like, depending on how good this, and how advanced it goes, you're talking like 90% of the population, where it's just like, hey, you're just out of a job. You have a sales job, you don't anymore. Yeah, you have, whatever it is, it's just gone.
Hey, let's pause for a second here, because I want to talk about ChevyDriveChicago.com. That's right, Chicagoland. Your local Chevy dealers want you to know that the time to buy a Chevy is now. Whether you're looking for a car for you or the whole family, Chevy has a great selection of SUVs of all sizes with sleek and comfortable interiors and top-tier technology and safety features. Isn't that right, Ryan?
I mean, that's right. Chevy's the absolute best. I did ask, we're doing the AI episode, I asked Grok what Grok thinks about Chevy. And it says Chevy, people are big fans of their vehicles like the Equinox, Traverse, and Silverado. And it says they have a sense of humor. They know how to make a good commercial.
I like that.
So Grok, even though it's in bed with Elon, still Chevy approved.
Love that.
Love that.
Love that. Shout out to ChevyDriveChicago.com. You can check out the latest offers on the Equinox, Blazer, Trax, and more when you find your local dealer at ChevyDriveChicago.com. It's really that simple. You just go to that website, you plug in your zip code, and it'll tell you where to go look at what they have in the lot.
Yep.
And what else
Chevy.
they could do for you.
That's Americana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
Yep.
All right, then let's hop back into the show. It's crazy how that flipped because, I think, I remember in our lifetime at least, the big one that flipped was the toll booth workers.
Yep.
When they started doing iPass and Easy Pass, whatever your state calls it, was the big oh my God, they're limited. I mean, probably thousands of jobs were lost.
Definitely.
From toll booths, and they turned in. I mean, undoubtedly a more efficient system.
Oh, way better system. Yeah. And that's a perfect example of something where it's like, hey, a technology came along with these sensors or what, I don't know how those fucking things work, but a sensor that is linked to your bank account just sucks it right out. That, that is a better system. And those people who did that, while sad they lost their jobs, they're going to have to pivot to something else. And most of them probably did. They found some other job. They're not going to, if there are no other jobs, because ChatGPT has, or open, I keep calling it ChatGPT, but artificial intelligence has accounted for almost all of those. Then you just have a bunch of people sitting around doing nothing, and people won't sit around and do nothing. And then it's the other part of it is you get, especially at this stage, well, who's doing the programming? Okay. And are they programmed? If that ChatGPT, if you ask it, questions to say something nice about Donald Trump, it won't. Okay. It will about Biden. So it's already got political leanings. Mm-hmm. So then it's do you have this thing that's programmed in a way where it knows so much, because it does. It's fucking amazing. The thing can pass the bar. But if it's politically inclined always in one direction, what type of government, what type of society does that leave you with, where it's because you're almost making this thing, it's like a sentient being that knows just about everything. That's almost like a god, because you could just be like, what should I do today, AI? And it should be able to tell you at some point. Okay. And if it can, and it's telling you what policies are good, and you're just I'm not going to question this thing. It's got all the knowledge of the entire world. Well, then you go down a path, and who knows what the ultimate end goal of that, of all of these inputs and all these programs, if you're programmed, predisposed towards certain policies, where that leads you en masse, because there's no pushback. And that's what I've always, I'm always been fascinated by religion. I almost feel like religion in a lot of ways is like a collective conscience that we can reference on how we should act. Not what something, science is what something is. Religion is how you should act, and you can fill in whatever religion. I'm not an expert on it, but that's how you should act. Well, now it's what things are and how I should act, all coming from one source, which is a computer program. That doesn't seem good to me either. So I don't know. It's a very odd and scary time. And that's why you have all these people, Elon at one point, the Weinstein brothers, all these kind of very, very intelligent people who understand this stuff a lot better than I do, are why don't we just pause on this artificial intelligence development until we can have some standards and regulations, and how we know exactly how it works, and this and that. And there's two driving forces that will basically make a pause impossible, which you'd have to have every power in the world agree. China, Russia, us, Iran, the EU, everybody has to agree, Saudi Arabia, that we're not doing this. And you have to trust them not to do it. Seems highly unlikely. Okay. And then it has to be fair too, because that was, remember the Paris Peace Accords 2016 that Trump came in, ripped that up. Okay. And he was ripping it up because he was like, this is not fair to America. These other countries aren't held. We're a globe, but they're doing so much of the polluting, and blah blah blah. It's like it's not an equal playing field. Well, it's like, well, they kind of have to catch up. Like we were burning the shit out of coal for forever. I'm not saying I don't have an opinion on it one way or another, but it was like it's very hard, and that was like for the climate, and you got people to agree, but not everybody was on the same playing field, and it wasn't really an effective policy in terms of curbing global emissions, at least not immediately. So he pulled us out. But it was very hard to get that done, and even that only lasted for a couple of years. The same thing with like nuclear arms treaties. Like nuclear arms treaties, that never really even happened, right? Until the end of the Cold War, like the 80s. Okay, it was when you had real substantial, when the Soviet Union was like the writing was on the wall. Like we've had other little agreements, détentes, whatever, but like the test ban treaties and all that Kennedy and Khrushchev were trying to do, like it was like those are the two powers, but it was like this is a real problem that India got the bomb and Pakistan got the bomb and they hate each other and China has it, Israel supposedly has it, but they deny that they have it. And it's like you couldn't keep that, which you had a bunch of scientists out in New Mexico developing this thing. They leak it to the Russians, and soon enough there's nuclear proliferation everywhere. So it's like it's almost like we've kind of experimented with these kind of mass treaties to curb something, and it just didn't. It has never really come to fruition because you have the competing forces on the global stage that are like military rivals, and you also got people with dollar signs in their eyes. Like Microsoft's not investing billions for no reason. Google's doing the same thing. Amazon's doing the same thing. They're all putting a shit ton of money into AI because everyone can see that this is the next big innovation. And I would argue that we were not ready for the internet and social media and smartphone, like that innovation. Like I think that has had like drastic and mostly negative impacts on society, on people. And we weren't ready for it, and it would just like kind of, but like we can see like we could kind of stop this if we could all get on the same page and be like, hey, like we didn't foresee the smartphone and the social media happening at the same time, and like the amount of destruction that would have on society. Maybe we should just let's at least have like a council about what to do about AI. But because you have the military, the competitive nations and the competitive companies of capitalism both being like, we can't pause. We're going for it. You're not going to pause.
Well, like you said about, nuclear activity. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that never happened, but at least like it is to a point where everyone realizes, I think, how serious it is. So yeah, it doesn't really happen, And it hasn't. Like there hasn't been another nuclear
bomb detonated for military. Like, I mean, there's been tests, but in terms of an act of war, there hasn't been one since end of World War II. So I think you're right. Like they did agree, but like they never used them, and it was like mutually assured destruction because they both made so many and made them so much bigger and more powerful that it was like, well, we're just gonna like, we can't use them. We have them, we can't use them. So because it would be the end of the world.
And that's not going to happen with this because it's not as much as
because it feels like it's a creep. Like it's like the thing of the nuclear bomb, you see the mushroom cloud. Where this, it could just be like, nah,
it's not as black and white.
Yeah, you lost your job and so did you.
It's like, well, like there's other things you could point at.
Yeah. It's not as black and white.
Yes.
Yeah. But, maybe we'll have an AI screenplay about Sam Altman, like the way we got about Oppenheimer. This, like it'll be one of these seminal things that change the course of the world forever. And it had like people were raising the alarm bells, and Oppenheimer himself was raising the alarm bells. And like maybe we shouldn't even do this, and maybe we should tell the Nazis that we're worried about this thing, and tell the Russians, and just everybody agreed to not do it because of how bad it could be. There are people like that, not Sam Altman himself, but there are people like that are like, we just like once it's out of control, it's out of our control.
Have you seen much what he said on the thing, like what he's been saying on the whole product, like about how, like it's okay, like how do they rationalize it?
but he rationalizes being like he thinks it'll be a net positive for humanity. Like that's how he rationalizes it, and he just has seemingly like a more optimistic view. Like, you know, we can program a certain way, we can institute certain guardrails, but if the thing is smart enough to get outside your guardrails, or not everybody's using the same guardrails. Oh, and if you go to twitter.com right now, Grok is on like the left hand tab. So like Grok is like the ChatGPT for Twitter, it is currently, I think if you had, because I have the check mark, you have a check mark, right?
Yeah.
I think you can use it, but you have to upgrade to Premium Plus. How much does that cost? Because we could fuck around with it right now.
So Grok is what?
That's the Elon
version.
That's his ChatGPT. Yeah. Should I get?
Shit, I don't know.
Should I get it? You want to fuck around? $16 a month
For Grok?
For Grok. Upgrade and pay. Fuck it.
You're doing it.
I'm doing it. Proceed.
This guy's from here.
Who is?
Sam Altman. He was raised in St. Louis, but he was born here.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
That's interesting.
All right, Grok. I got it. Grok something. So it's Grok. What a fucking stupid name for a thing. But maybe that's the point.
The guy who named it X is
calling it Grok and named his baby all those different fucking symbols.
Yeah. What a shocker.
What should we ask Grok?
Do you want to record your screen?
Yeah, I can do that. I probably remind me how to do it.
I believe it's Shift Command 5.
Shift Command 5.
And then you just highlight the entire screen.
All right, and record. Is it going? No. Oh, it was going actually from last night. I never turned it off.
No.
We were doing the Bear Show and I was recording and I never turned it off. Shift Command 5. Okay. Record the entire screen. Record. Okay, so we're recording. I think we're recording now. What should we ask it? Should the Bears fire
Matt Eberflus?
Yeah.
What is Barstool Sports? That's pretty basic. We want like an opinion-based thing.
Yeah, let's see if it can do this. Should the Bears fire Matt Eberflus? Searching for answers and opinions and discussions. Well, it seems like opinions are split on whether the Bears should fire Matt Eberflus. Some fans are calling for his head, while others believe he should stay on as head coach. On one hand, the Bears have had a rough season, and a lot of that falls on the coaching staff. Some fans are pointing fingers at Eberflus for not taking a more hands-on approach to the defense and sticking with Luke Getsy as the offensive coordinator. On the other hand, those who believe that patience is a virtue and that Matt Eberflus should be given more time to turn things around. After all, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a winning football team. Plus, with a new general manager in Kevin Warren, got that wrong. The Bears might be in a decent position to make some positive changes. At the end of the day, it's up to the Bears management to decide whether to keep Eberflus or give him the boot. But one thing is for sure, the debate over his future with the team is sure to keep fans talking until a decision is made.
That's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, we're out of a job. This is what I fucking mean. We just did that for a half an hour yesterday about should we fire Eberflus or not. And Eddie, you're like waffling, and I'm kind of waffling on a blog today. And Grok just fucking summed it up in 4 paragraphs.
Yeah, but what's Grok's voice sound like, huh?
Oh, that's good.
Give
me your best Grok. Give me a Grok.
I am Grok.
You just assume it's, what's your voice sound like? Your voice sound like Grok.
Matt Eberflus. Grok.
Let's see what Grok says. I asked him what his voice sounded like. I fucking stumped his ass. You got nothing.
He didn't say anything?
He's got like, just your average run-of-the-mill AI voice. Think of a mix between a 1980s telephone operator and a slightly sarcastic robot. But if you're asking about my vocal range, I can do a mean impression of a kazoo. Just don't ask me to sing. Trust me, it's for the best. So Grok's got a sense of humor.
Grok's got personality? Yeah. I don't like that.
Yeah.
What about ask him why Elon Musk is considered controversial?
Should we say
that's an interesting question?
Why
right?
should we trust Elon Musk?
Sure.
I think this was already worth the $16.
Yeah. going to be asking Grok everything?
The Grok's kind of funny. Why should we trust Elon Musk? Well, it depends on who you ask. Some people see him as a visionary entrepreneur who's revolutionizing the world with electronic cars and reusable rockets. Others see him as a controversial figure who's prone to making bold claims and stirring up drama on social media. On one hand, Elon has built a reputation for being a risk taker and a disruptor. He's a guy who's willing to make multi-planetary life possible, who's pushing the boundaries of what's possible with technology. On the other hand, he's also the guy who's known to make misleading statements and who's been accused of not delivering on his promises. Ultimately, whether or not you trust Elon Musk is up to you. It is important to look at facts and consider different perspectives and make an informed decision. And hey, if all else fails, just remember he's the guy who sent a car into space, so at least he's got that going for him.
Okay. So not a complete...
Oh, so we are in fun mode. I just clicked into regular mode. So like you can even decide if he's funny or not.
Oh, so now we're just getting straight information.
Yeah.
Without the personality.
Yeah. His fun mode was kind of funny.
Ask him who's better, LeBron or Jordan. It's a good question, right?
Yeah. I kind of want to see what his fun mode answer is, though, too. It's a tough call to make, as both LeBron James and Michael Jordan have had incredible careers in the NBA. Jordan is known for his time with the Chicago Bulls, won 6, blah, 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 in terms of achievements. MJ has 5 MVPs, while LeBron James has 4. Both players. Comes down to personal preference. Grok, you're kind of a bitch. Should we tell him he's a little bitch in fun mode?
Like, Grok, give us a definitive answer.
Well, I can't. You're a waffling ass motherfucker,
yeah.
Grok. Fence sitting son of a bitch.
You called him that?
He said, well, I guess you could say I'm a bit of a fence sitter, but hey, sometimes it's good to see both sides of an issue, right? Plus, I'm not really one for taking sides. I'm just here to provide information and help out where I can. So if you need a fence sitter, you've come to the right place.
I don't hate that.
Good answer.
Good answer.
I could talk to this fucking thing all day. But it is kind of insane.
Ask it like for, no, we won't do this for like an hour, I promise. But like,
this is your last one.
Yeah, but ask it like, hey,
should I break up with my girlfriend?
Like, no, like I have a cut on my elbow. Like, what should I put? You know what I mean?
Okay,
like, ask it for like a genuine, like, hey, I
have a fever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you recommend that I do?
Treat the flu-like symptoms I'm dealing with. I mean, rest up. So here's how you treat pesky flu-like symptoms. Rest up, just like your favorite TV show. You need a good binge rest session. Get plenty of sleep and take it easy. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Drink water like it's going out of style. If you want to mix it up, gargle some salt water. Yeah, it gives you, keep it clean. Wash your hands. Use, clean utensils, all that kind of stuff. Know when to see a doctor.
All right. Not a terrible answer from Grok. Oh, so you in or out on Grok?
I think I'm kind of in.
You in or out on Grok?
Because I don't want a machine telling me what to think, and this thing has been a fucking fence sitter.
I think I'm in.
Lance? All right.
Yeah.
Guess we're all in on Grok.
We're all in. Yep.
All right, then. How about this? We're talking about the dangers, and now we're all in.
If it's programmed the right way.
Yeah, Grok is definitely going to, take my job. You know what I mean? Like, for sure, but, still pretty sweet.
He already took our job. He took it live on this podcast with the Eberflus question.
Yeah, well, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But he didn't know Kevin Warren, though.
Yeah,
he lost all credibility.
Yeah, he has no credibility.
People are going to turn off his program for that.
That's true. That's a good point.
It's facts. All right, then. That was talking OpenAI, right?
That's it.
That's it. Anything else, Lance?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, just AI is probably going to take our job, and I don't know. I got really scared about 12 minutes into this podcast. Like, damn, I really thought we were totally done with all these apocalypses and things like that. Now it's like, oh, we're actually going to make one, and there's just no way we're going to stop it.
This is the most likely one.
Yeah. That's a nightmare.
Yeah.
I would agree.
All right, then.
But you never know.
Yeah. we'll call it there. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for watching. Free swim tomorrow. We will see you then.